Type marking in Football Manager. Always or never. I've been doing a bit of research about this and I've experimented with it myself in Football Manager 2024 and indeed previous Football Manager as well. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the certain scenarios in which you can use type marking in Football Manager and also scenarios where you should actually avoid type marking certain players. Now, according to Guide to FM, there are certain scenarios where type marking is quite useful and the other scenarios where it's just useless. We'll start with the scenario where it's useful and then we'll look at other scenarios where it's not recommended for you to use type marking in Football Manager. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified for more Football Manager videos like this. I also go on to test out tactics for mid-table teams and sub-top teams, and I go on to share further Football Manager guides just like this. So into the video. The first group of players you should look to type mark in Football Manager are creative players. Those players that have good passing, good vision, good crossing as well. Ideally, players that are likely to create a chance for the opposition are players that you're going to want to type mark. But when it comes to crossing, we know that you have players that are wingers that are tend to be the players that can actually cross the ball. So that brings us to the second group of players. Wingers that have good crossing that may not be very fast. These are players that can actually go on to type mark. And those group of players that you should also look towards are players that are very slow on the ball. These players may be creative players as well, or they may be tall strikers that have good jumping reach. You try and go ahead and type mark these players and try and force them off the ball. But pay attention to the tall attacking striker that's the target forward with great area presence. You need to have a defender that is just as tall as he is in order to type mark him. If you type mark him with a player that is smaller, he may just go ahead and bully that player out of the game. So when do you use never? You should never mark an agile player in Football Manager. These are players that have good pace, good acceleration, and very good attacking movement. They'll easily get past your defenders and somehow take advantage of the space that is ahead of them. You also shouldn't mark players that are poor in creativity or players that have bad passing, bad first touch and all this kind of stuff. You kind of want to allow your opposition to see that that player is free so they can actually play the ball to him, and then use that in tandem with trigger press or closing down and force that player to actually make a mistake, and then you can win possession from there. I've mentioned this before, but another group of players that you should kind of avoid type marking are players that have better area presence than your defender. This could be tall strikers, this could be also tall midfielders. You don't really want to mark them because they kind of bully the other player and then take advantage of that superiority that they have in the air. To deal with them, you kind of use a pairing of type marking or trigger press and show on to weaker foot to kind of deal with them. So you're not really going to want to type mark them exclusively. You can consider playing a high defensive line to try and force them further away from the goal, because for low defensive line, if the attacker has if your attacker is very tall and you're playing a low defensive line, a cross into the box might be at your disadvantage. So you want to push your defensive line slightly higher up and try and force that tall striker, which will likely be slow as well, force him to try and have a lot more distance to cover in order to get to goal. If he's a tall and a fast player, I'm very sorry. That is beyond the scope of this video, so you do have to subscribe to actually get notified. In case I do find the answer to that problem, I will let you know in a new or future video from now. Thanks for watching this one. If you do find it useful, remember to leave a comment on it. If you have additional questions regarding how to apply opposition instructions like type marking or closing down or show on to weaker foot, you can let me know in the comment section as well, or you can also check out my other video about opposition instructions in detail and you can learn how to apply them from there. That'll be all for today. I'll see you in the next video.